Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jerry Sansing with another edition of South Texas News and Reviews. This is August the 19th, 2018. Our air times are Tuesday at 9 p.m., Wednesday at 9 p.m. That's on Public Access 10. And you can get it on, I think, 99 on another station. Anyway, there's my email address. Let me know what I can do for you or give me some information. And this is available on YouTube. Just go into Jerry, J-E-R-R-Y, Sansing, and this and my other program, What's Going On in Corpus Christi, crop up. Anyway, please let me know if you've got any problems and so forth and so on. And I'm going to go ahead and turn the lights on and get situated, and we'll talk about a few things around town. Be right back. Okay, lights on, roses lit up, the camera's going. I'm going to take my seat. See what we can get into this evening. Got a lot of things to discuss. Once again, I'm Jerry Sansing, and this is the South Texas News and Reviews show. We've got a lot of different things to discuss this evening. Still going to go ahead and show you Pinocchio with old Jimmy Cricket giving him hell. I wish we could get a little more truth around this this town with elected officials and, you know, bankers and all the rest of this stuff making a fortune at taxpayers' expense. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and interject this. NFL players show they won't stop protesting. You know, I don't know what they're trying to protest. I agree with their freedom of speech and so forth and so on. But as a person whose father went through absolute hell in 3 wars, and in between those times, then I never saw him kneel or not salute the flag and during the ceremonies. So, you know, I've got a no NFL sign in my front yard. And, you know, I think it's ridiculous that we have to do things like that. But if that's what blows your hair back there, NFL players, then go ahead and do it. I just don't participate. I wouldn't watch an NFL game on a bet. So that's just my personal view. Now, there was an article on July 27th in the Caller Times by Julie Garcia. And it says, address the city council, here's how. And it's got a picture of my vice president of the Corpus Christi Taxpayers Association, Mr. Jack Gordy, and he's holding up a sign that says, say no to Mark Scott for mayor. And he goes down there frequently and talks to the council and addresses them. I'm in class usually. I've done it a few times, but I wish I could go down there more times and address that council and tell them what, you know, what I don't appreciate them doing. And then I do tell them when I do appreciate them doing something. But it's gotten to be totally out of hand, ladies and gentlemen. Those meetings are, you know, they've got the public access or the public comments sections when people can't get down there and really go ahead and voice their views. A lot of times you call down there to a city council person and they don't answer the phone. They don't pay any attention to you. They think that they are totally immune to anything that the elected official or the elected, as elected officials and their constituents that voted them in don't mean diddly to a lot of them. They just do what they want to do. It's usually, you know, for their benefit and for their wallets. So I'll just go ahead and spit it out. We've got streets that are coming apart and infrastructure which is going to cost us billions of dollars to fix. And then we try to smoke screen that. I know I've been on a couple of committees with coliform bacteria in the bay, and it's real easy to figure out what the source is. You can have those genetic studies done very cheaply, but when I was on a committee before that wrote the Coles Park deal, then the city wouldn't have anything to do about it. They kept saying it's your dog pooping in your yard and so forth. But you may want to go back on the July the 27th and look this up. And it gives you some of the ways to do this, okay? And they give us step by step. I think it's 7 or 8 steps here. It says citizens may sign up for public comment on the list located at the rear of the council chambers. Individuals be called up to the podium in order they signed up. Those who did not have an opportunity to sign up will be given a chance to speak near the end of the public comment. Okay? All right. A recording is made of the council meeting. Please speak into the microphone located at the podium and state your name and address. 3. Your comments are limited to 3 minutes. The podium has a countdown clock located at the base of the microphone which will indicate how much time is remaining to speak. When the time has ended, a buzzer will ring and your comment should be completed. You may speak regarding an item on the agenda during the public comment period. However, when the council is considering the item, you will not be allowed to speak again. Okay? All right. 5. Address your remarks to the whole city council rather than a specific member. If you have a petition or other information related to your subject that you would like to give the council, please present to the secretary for the city secretary for distribution. 7. Presentations that are concise and to the point are more effective with the council. Nothing's effective with the council. The Open Meetings Act prohibits the council from discussing or responding to comments at length. The law only authorizes them to A, make a statement of factual information. Okay. Let's see, where did B go? I guess they had 2 A's here. This is misprint. I guess should be B, recite an existing policy in response to any inquiry, and C, advise the citizen that the subject will be placed on an agenda at a later date. More of the Open Meetings Act from the Texas Attorney General's office. Okay? All right. And that's more on that. So here's a picture of Mr. Gordy down there at the bottom. But anyway, that's how you can address them. I would like to see them have a council meeting every once in a while in the evening, which would give people the opportunity to go ahead and address that council and tell them the way they really feel about things. And it can get pretty dicey. Mr. Gordy doesn't mince a lot of words down there, and he's disgusted with the attorneys and some of their opinions, particularly when it comes to ADA or the Americans with Disabilities Act compliance, and then political signs, and then the Highway Beautification Act. Now, Mr. Gordy has indicated to the state that the 14 state highways around here, or the roads that are considered to be under state purview, have many illegal signs on those. The city, I think the state came down, I don't know if it's TxDOT or whoever, but anyway, they came down, and last I heard a couple of weeks ago, and counted like 140 or 150 illegal signs, and I think they're going to have a few choice words to say to this city. Now, the city says that it's not a problem with that, and so forth and so on, but if we do lose a bunch of money with sign permits that are on the state highways and so forth and so on under the beautification plan, then we're going to lose a lot of money. And it doesn't matter. I'm so disgusted with code enforcement and some of these other people around, and I'm just going to say clowns and clownettes that I could just scream. But I won't do that. I don't get mad, I get even. Okay? Now, so that's coming up soon, folks, and I'll try to let you know ahead of time, and let you know when the state's going to come down and have a little let's come to reason with the city and the city fathers down here, and they don't care. And then we've got county people. One of them's running for the county judge, Mr. Pusley, and his political signs went up before they had the official date. The city keeps saying that there is no official date, that you can do this, that, and the other, but the city charter and city rules and the state and so forth and so on dictate 90 days before the election. Mr. Pusley apparently was out putting some of those up, and he was called on that by Mr. Gordy, and his response was he didn't much care what anybody thought about that. He was going to put the signs up anyway, whether it's legal or not. Okay? Is that somebody you want for a county judge? Anyway, I'll let you decide that one. And then there's some other things around. And most people, did take them down after the elections and the preliminary and so forth and so on, and put them back up for the November election. And it's legal now. You can put whatever you want up as long as they're not encumbering, eyesight, and being able to see things. All right, now, then what we have is we have the city in their infinite wisdom one more time. This came out on August the 10th in the Caller Times. It says, City considers $96 million bond package. And what this is going to be, a list of bond proposition proposals, 23 street projects. We've got, if they just complete one of them in a timely manner, we'd be in pretty good shape. And then we've got total cost of $52 million. Property tax increase, no. You don't believe that, do you? Residential utility bills, $2 added per month. And then we've got Leopard Street from, they give the streets and so forth and so on. Okay? So they can mess up some more of the streets around here. If they'd taken care of them, we wouldn't have this problem. So anyway, it gives you more information about that, and then the bond, and it goes on and on for quite some time. Now, another thing that's on the front page on the 10th was CCISD releases spending wish list, construction upgrades, tech safety or priorities, and so forth and so on. And then a little bit later, this was on the 10th, this was on August the 2nd, then they did explain a little bit about what they wanted to do. Okay, here are some highlights. The bond is considering new Carroll High School, $175 million. Now, we've got a veterans high school, I understand, that is about half full of students. We couldn't live without that boondoggle out there on the south side. And so, what can I say? I think that was on Cimarron out there. And, it's only about half used at best. But I don't know why we need a Carroll High School when we are losing students. Now, they said that the enrollment for CCISD was down, and it's going down. So why we need more schools if the student population is dropping, folks? Okay, they came out with that little jewel. And then we've got Del Mar College. I'll put the plug in there. Those people are spending money hand over fist. They've spent $157 million for classrooms and so forth we don't need on East and West campuses as they exist. We've got defrayed maintenance big time over there. I call it it's not Del Mar DMC, it's Defrayed Maintenance College. That's the way I look at it. I've been there. It horrifies me. This will be my 30th year that I'm working on. I came in August of 1989, and the previous show, if you saw that, what's going on, I've taken them to task over there with the privileged people. It's costing you a bunch of money, and it's going to get us in trouble with the state, with the Higher Education Coordinating Board. But nobody wants to listen to anybody around here. We've got some people with egos bigger than Dallas, and they want to run the whole show. And we've got administrators over there that buy into a lot of that garbage. And you can go over there and find blatant lies hanging on the walls, like trademark products by students and so forth and so on. And just go back and watch that. That was in the today's show, which is the August the 19th, and that's the what's going on in Corpus Christi. If you want to see that, you can go into YouTube with Jerry, Jerry, Sansing, and the South Texas News and Reviews, and the what's going on in Corpus Christi shows up here for your viewing. Okay. All right. Now we got the new Carroll High School, $175 million. Ray High School window replacement, $2.5 million. New gym at Caffey and Grant Middle Schools. District-wide safety upgrades as per Governor Greg Abbott's school and firearm safety action plan. District-wide technology upgrades like replacing all staff computer equipment. Okay. Locker room renovations at Hamlin, Brown, and Martin Middle Schools. No action was taken. The board expected to call for a bond election during the August 20th board meeting. That's tomorrow. And then Del Mar College has got one tomorrow. This will come out a week after that or so. But, unless you pull it up on YouTube, it may be up in the next couple of days. All right. And then we've got bond packages were approved in 2008, 2010, 2014, and 2016 that totaled about $611 million. Who's going to pay that, folks? A bond proposal was rejected in 2004. Before that year, the last time a bond proposal was approved by voters was in the mid-1990s. The district has $527 million worth of outstanding debt at this point. Comptroller Donna Hahn told the board. $527 million. Now Del Mar is way up there too, folks. And then if you throw in city bonds and bond packages and all the rest of this garbage around here, then we're in deep debt, folks. I don't know how we're going to afford it. And they say, well, this town is growing leaps and bounds. No, it's not. The industry is growing leaps and bounds, but a lot of people leave due to the pollution that's being brought in. And I'm going to discuss that in addition to. Okay, so this town is not growing leaps and bounds, and we're not bursting at the seams, as Del Mar says about the enrollment over there. And we need all this new fancy buildings and classrooms and stuff. We've got big ones going up over there on East Campus and down at South, and now we've got that boondoggle, that floodplain out there, that swampland, the 96 acres at Yorktown and Rodfield, that they're going to put a campus that is going to house something like 20,000 students. We've been flatlined about 11,000 students since 1992, and I can prove that. And I think I've got something down here on Del Mar. Let's see. Here it is. Okay. Del Mar College Regents newest plans for natural Southside campus. Now, we've been messing around with that for several years now. They had, I think it was $139 million that you people had voted in for that South campus, Southside campus. And now they've reduced the size of the buildings and so forth. I did on several shows go out there and show you Lake Del Mar College. That is a floodplain out there, folks. And I've seen cows belly deep in water when the previous owner had it out there. She was going to run some cows and had a couple of horses out there. And they were, every time it rained, they were, belly deep in water. And nobody believed me when I told them that. And we went out and filmed it during the last rainstorms. And now they're going to say they've got millions of dollars worth of dirt they're going to haul in there. And somebody said they were going to buy a motor grader and go out there and flatten that land out a little bit. And then they're going to start filling it in with soil. That's going to cost millions of dollars, folks. So they'll be way over budget before it's over with. And now we've reduced the size of the buildings. And, when the previous owner put a slab out there for a 3-story house, it sank right into that mush out there, that black gumbo. So I don't know. We're going to have pilings to China and hope that we can do that. And I don't know that the architects, engineers, and so forth have programmed all that in or not, because they refuse to accept the fact that that is a floodplain. Now, what they've done now is they've redesigned the buildings from the original proposal, and now it says Natural Southside Campus. The new Del Mar College campus will be built at the corner of Yorktown Boulevard and Rodfield Roads with funds from a $139 million bond package approved by the voters. Well, that's just these 3 buildings, folks, but now they're going to be so that the wind can go through between the buildings and so forth and so on, and they've got new renderings, which means that the architects are making more and more money every day. And those architects are, the ones that donated money to Mr. McCampbell's campaign when he was reelected and for the Board of Regents. He's the president or chair of the Del Mar College Board of Regents. And then if you looked at the Del Mar Now campaign for this $139 million bond, it was a boondoggle. Then the same architects, engineers, and all donated money there. I know that one of the architects put in $5,000 for Mr. McCampbell's. I guess that may have been the Del Mar Works, and I've seen checks close to half $1 million, to him. So it's all about money. They don't care about your well-being and whether you can pay your taxes or not. They just say you need this boondoggle because they say you do, which is horse feathers, folks, if you get my drift. But now we're going to put it in there so the wind can blow through and whistle through, and not, it's going to be just a great natural Southside campus. Maybe they can put it up on stilts and go ahead and have the gondolas over there like Venice, Italy, and some of these other places where they've got those. Then you could go to class on a gondola and have somebody sing to you on the way. That would do the trick, I guess. But this whole thing stinks. Now this $139 million is just the down payment. That's probably less than a third of what it's going to take if that 96 acres is completed, and they don't tell you about that. Okay, I figured it's going to cost with inflation and change orders and all the rest of that good stuff, redrawing with architects and engineers, probably going to cost you right about $500 million in debt, plus what they've got out there now. It's incredible. Okay. Let's see. The vision has evolved significantly from the concept that was presented to Regents in February 2016, which was a $1.8 million planning phase funded with a $157 million bond package approved by the voters in 2014. That was the bond to go ahead and put the East Campus buildings up and West Campus. So, we've been we've been buffaloed, folks. All right. So that came out, like I say, on August the 10th. The city considers $96 million bond package. And we've got this $100 and something million here and $100 and something million there. And if you look in the school board wants their big cut. And then I can't believe, I'm hoping that the Caller Times put these ads out for CCISD, Developing Hearts and Minds. It says, today's students, tomorrow's leaders. And this is a full page that's been running frequently here in the Caller Times, folks. And it's, they talk about, let's see, CCISD Learns, semifinalists for HEB's Excellence in Education Award in 2017 and 2018, 3 teachers honored in 2017. Windsor Park Elementary School named Texas Best Elementary School by SchoolDigger.com. International Baccalaureate Magnet Program at elementary, middle, and high school levels. Okay. 17 CCISD campuses recognized by the Alliance for a Higher Generation, or Healthier Generation in 2017. William B. Travis Elementary School earned one of the only 10 American high schools gold awards in the nation. Okay, so and then they go through CCI, and there's more of this stuff. Okay, CCISD plays. Cabinets Athletic Complex includes new turf fields and renovated natatorium. Mary Carroll High School girls softball and girls cross country advanced to state 2017. And then they go on with Veterans High School boys and girls, wrestling state champion and all the rest of this stuff. That's really got a lot to do with education. Okay, CCISD creates Richard King High School regional winter academic decathlon for 19 consecutive years. W.B. Ray High School, Collegiate High School, Melvin Baker Middle School, and Windsor Park Elementary School have completed in Destination Imagination's global level event. Veterans Memorial High School band students selected for the 2018 Texas Commission on the Arts of Young Masters program. And then it says CCISD provides free breakfast and lunch on all campuses, free transportation if you're 2 miles out, Corpus Christi's largest employer, school of choice for more than 38,000 students, and falling, okay, full day free preschool on 23 campuses, new 2018 tuition-based preschool, and the district police department state recognized for compliance with security measures. So I don't know what that's got to do with the price of cheese, but I hope that full page is not coming out of my tax money. Okay, and then we've got the city again. This is pie in the sky as usual for the folks down here at City Hall, our elected city council people. Developers. It says old courthouse back taxes still unpaid. Now this is more the county, I think, the county commissioners, and Lloyd Neal, Judge Neal. Okay, but anyway, somebody came in and said they were going to convert that old courthouse into a premier, beautiful, wonderful, sophisticated hotel, and all they needed to do was pay the $1.5 million, I think it was, in back taxes as part of the deal. Okay, and then after a while, the developer, which is Nueces County Development Partners LLC, was required to pay the back taxes on the building as a condition of the sale, but Nueces County Tax Assessor Collector Kevin Kishnick said it still has not been done, and this came out on 8/8/18, and then it was on the 14th. There's a big full page, or the front page. County leaders kill old courthouse deal. Well, yeah, they're going to give them tax abatements and all the rest of this stuff that all these politicians do, and then we get into trouble with it. Okay, M&G Plastics, classic example. Okay, and then we've got all these wonderful developments around here that we just can't live without. So the county does this and the city does it, and it just goes on and on and on, and if it sounds too good to be true, folks, it probably is. And then we've got another problem. We've got, we've got some real polluters around here. Now, I spent 7 years of my life and a whole bunch of money, along with at least 200 to 300 other people that have of great concern in this city about the Las Brisas Energy Center. That was Chase Energy out of Houston. Okay. And it took us that long to convince these morons at the state, it's the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. They're all in with the high-rolling politicians that want to make a whole bunch of money by bringing in all these companies that are going to pollute us into oblivion and take over our environmental quality, and then tell us to go straight to hell. If you don't like it, move out. And they're not going to pay for medical problems that arise from a bunch of this stuff. So I was the chair of Clean Economy Coalition. I was asked to do that because of my background scientifically, and I did it gladly. And after 7 years and a lot of my personal money and a lot of other people's personal money and time, we convinced the state that should not have been built. Now here we got another one. And I think this is going to be one of the biggest fallacies and probably one of the biggest environmental concerns of the century. Now, Voestalpine over there has been polluting everybody with the dust and the light and the noise and so forth and so on around Portland. But this is going to go in around the Portland area also in San Patricio County. ExxonMobil project gets first permit from the state. So they're going to go over there with that ethylene plant. And, it's going to be able to provide the whole world with plastic goods, which we need, and, that's polluting in itself. But anyway, the Gulf Coast Growth Ventures project in San Patricio County has reached a new milestone in its development. It has obtained the first of its required permits from the state. The Texas Commission on Environmental Quality on Wednesday voted to approve a wastewater permit for the project. So TCEQ, I can tell you, they don't really give much of a damn about anything unless they're directed by some of these state politicians to pay attention. They're going to rubber stamp everything. But that I think in the future, I may not be around to see it, but the ExxonMobil project is probably going to be one of the worst things that's happened in this area, and it's going to affect everybody here. And I do know the people in San Patricio County, Portland in particular, don't like that. But see, we got an estimated 6,000 jobs during the peak construction period, and the creation of 600 full-time jobs after it's built. Okay, so for 600 jobs, they're going to pollute you into oblivion. Okay, now here's another little ditty that came out. The Port of Corpus Christi may construct plant for water desalination. Okay, now what you have to do there, I can tell you as a chemist, what that process is all about. Okay, you're going to suck salt water in, and there are processes by which you can either steam or heat or with different types of membrane filters and so forth. You're going to take that salt out of that salt water and give you what's called potable water, pure water. It's not really pure, but it's non-salty water. And then what they do is they're going to either cool the furnaces up with that, the heat that's required, and put that hot water back into the bays and estuaries and so forth and so on, and then they're going to have to dump that salt brine somewhere. So, you know, when the morons over there, I think it was M&G that wanted to do that, then what we found out was that, you know, they just give a rip what they did to pollute us, and it was going to ruin the bay. You know, just take the water out of the ship channel and then contaminate everything, run the brine back in there and kill everything off in Corpus Christi Bay. And, you know, who cares? It's just all because we want money. And who's going to make the money? It damn sure isn't going to be the taxpayers around here. And then they had this wild scheme of tax abatements and all where, you know, if somebody will come in and pollute us, then we can give them tax abatements and so forth. And then, you know, with some of the refineries, they come back and say, well, you've overestimated our appraisals, so we paid too much taxes, so Del Mar write us a check for, you know, a couple $1 million or whatever it was, and they went back with CCISD and everybody. And they don't care about it either. They've got what they want. They've got a plant over there making billions of dollars, and they don't give a rip about taxpayers around here, I can guarantee you. And then it says that residents oppose saltwater facility. Port applied for permit for desalination plant. Okay. Now this is when the Port of Corpus Christi members were questioned about that, and the residents were going to oppose that. Now they've had several different sites that they say they're going to do this. It says the Port of Corpus Christi's application for a permit for a seawater desalination plant on Harbor Island is causing growing concern in nearby Port Aransas, and it should, folks. They're just going to suck the water out, and they're going to, you know, make it the fresh water, and then they're going to put the brine back in and all the heat and stuff it takes to process that, and that's going to ruin the, you know, the saltwater estuaries and canals and channels around here. That much was evident at Thursday's meeting of the Port Aransas City Council. Residents spoke out strongly against the project and what it could mean for wildlife and marine life in the bay that is the backbone of tourism industry on which Port Aransas heavily relies. This is a fishing town, said Port Aransas resident Kathy Fulton. We can't ignore what would happen to the fish in this town. If this town's fishing industry dies, the town dies, and that is the truth. We cannot ignore this. And it goes on, and it was quite a lengthy article. But you people are right over there, okay? That's just like we fought that damn power plant here. And, you know, I'm busy teaching at Del Mar, but I may go ahead and just volunteer some of my comments and so forth from a chemical point of view and toxicology and so forth, and see if we can't help them out. That's the last thing we need over there in Port Aransas. And then Port Aransas residents raised good questions. This was opinion editorial on the 25th of July. That's how long this has been going, and it's quite extensive here. it says if disposal makes more sense than reusing, then the next question is where? Where are they going to dump all this stuff? Okay? And, you know, I mean, the people of Port Aransas, the residents over there, have a perfect right to ask, although elected officials and the hot shots and the money brokers around here don't think so. Now, there have been 2 articles written. That was on the 25th of July, and then John Arguell, Arguell, on the 29th, on an op-ed in the newspaper, said proceed with caution on desalination, and he gives the reasons why. And he is a former analytical laboratory technician with the City of Corpus Christi Water Utilities Laboratory, and I think that he would probably have a little bit more of a handle on the perils of that, being a chemist, okay, and a water chemist to boot. Then on the August the 12th, along comes Herb Canales, is a 5th generation Corpus Christi resident. He served as the City of Corpus Christi's library director for 27 years. And what he says is that this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, why the Corpus Christi desalination project is vital to the city. And here's one of his clips. Let's see why I marked this down. Past decisions made by city leaders at increasing our water supply were correct, though politically difficult, but were preliminary. But were preliminary steps towards a more permanent solution. As it seeks to grow and provide opportunity through industrial business expansion for its people, and especially young adults naturally optimistic about the future, as they enroll in institutions of higher education, Corpus Christi must accommodate the needs of a growing population and address the critical needs of its largest private industry, the petrochemical industry. Okay? And what has the petrochemical industry done around here? Except, you know, I mean, it is a good bunch of money coming in, but you know, what's the detriment to our environment around here? Okay, are we going to sell our souls to the petrochemical? And then it says that the company looks at bringing desal to the city. This was on the 18th. That was yesterday. So now there's a private company that wants to come in and put one over here in San Patricio County also, and make water for them. And then that's going to ease our city water supply, because we supply, I guess, San Pat and some of the towns and so forth over there with water out of our city coffers. And this was quite lengthy. And it says Frank Brogan, a consultant helping the City of Corpus Christi determine how best to diversify its water supply, addresses the City Council on July the 24th. So we've got all these, you know, hot shots with the Port of Corpus Christi and rest of the stuff. And they're wild about this, because that way they can expand industry in the port, and that makes them more money. And I'm sure that a lot of those people that are the officials at the port have the money to move out of Corpus Christi and have a residence elsewhere and not have to, you know, be flopping around in all this garbage. Now, I don't know how you pronounce this one. Trafigura, Trafigura, proposes offshore oil port facility. Project could circumvent the Port of Corpus Christi. Well, we're trying to dig a bigger ditch out here so we can get bigger boats in to the ship channel over here into the port. And along comes this company that they want to have an offshore. I think it's 15 miles out. What they do is run some pipes out there, and then they can moor the ships 15 miles offshore from Corpus Christi, and then they can pump oil in and out, and you know, get our oil around here that we're sending all over the world and making a bunch of money with. And this company would make a lot of money with that. But what happens if they have a leak out there? Okay, that 15 miles offshore, that's going to really help the Gulf of Mexico around Corpus Christi, Texas. So, you know, they don't look at the perils. All they do is they look at the money, and that's, you know, that's what they do. They're a considerably large amount of money grubbing going on around here. So I don't know how the port's going to react to this, but it says when you go outside the state waters, they're just releasing those vapors into the atmosphere. So today, that activity is already having a negative impact on the environment, and this was one of the downsides of that. Okay, and that's true. If they're out that far out, if they, you know, spill oil or they've got vapors coming off when they unload those millions of gallons of crude oil onto the ships, then yeah, it's going to affect us. Okay, so I don't know. It's you know, that the it's wild and woolly, folks. All it's about is money. They don't give a damn about human life and misery and so forth and so on. And it's just like Las Brisas Energy Center. They couldn't have cared less when the American Pediatric Association indicated to us through physicians that that if we put that thing down there in downtown Corpus Christi at the time, we would have at least killed outright at least 80 infants a year in this general area. But Las Brisas didn't care anyway. And then we've got school ratings come up. Okay, this is CCISD. And we've had a lot of activity here with Parents Should Know About School Ratings. Mike Morath, Texas Commissioner on Education, and he gave a diatribe here on 814. And, you know, it does mean a lot, and we need to know, but you know, I'm concerned about the CCISD and ratings and so forth and so on. And I get students all the time at Del Mar College that have to go through remedial classes, they're called, and they don't know how to read, write, add, subtract, multiply, or divide. And you know, and so what happens there with Del Mar? And then I've got another article here from that gal, I think she's out of Chicago, that addresses that. What parents should know about school ratings? Well, we need to know a whole lot more than we're being told. And you know, my kids are through school. They've been successful. My deceased wife, their mother, was a reading professor at Del Mar College, and she had them reading. It's, you know, about 3 years old, at probably the 6th grade level. So I didn't have those problems. But I see students in my classes, sophomore classes, that can't read, and they can't write a complete sentence. And so it's a shame. And, you know, I feel sorry for the students because they've been slighted by a lot of this stuff. Okay? Texas ratings rank Area's district, Nueces County school districts, among the few to get an A grade. I don't know, you know, what the qualifications are of these people that give them grades up there. You know, I'd have to see that before I could, you know, really say that some of this stuff is true. Okay, I'm just hoping that the grades do go up for whatever reason, folks. You know, I'm not down on education. Obviously, I've been doing this at Del Mar for 29 years, teaching classes. That was post-industrial research for many years. And, you know, I think I owe the taxpayers around here that pay my salary through Del Mar College to provide you with some good people, not only for the allied health people, for my microbiology class and chemistry every once in a while, but the pre-med students, pre-pharmacy, pre-vet, and so forth and so on, pre-dental students that take the majors, plus the ones that want to go into biology majors and become, you know, a degreed biologist and help us out around here with a lot of this pollution and garbage that we've got to contend with. Okay. Time to self-reflect in today's politically charged landscape. Clinton Cross, let's see, is a retired El Paso attorney. We are tribal animals. We identify with groups, making our group identification part of who we are. We are Americans, Texans, Dallas Cowboy fans. Democrats or Republicans and many other things. Only with great reluctance and considerable self-reflection are we likely to abandon loyalty to the groups with which we strongly identify. So, I hate to turn on the TV anymore because there's such infighting and so forth among people. Everybody's calling everybody else a racist and a bigot and a scoundrel and a liar and a cheat and a thief. And I'm just sick to death of it, folks, okay? And, in this politically charged world. And then, we're protesting this because of this and that and the other and so forth and so on. And then I'll just go ahead and say that I've had about enough of one Nick Jimenez. The real enemy of the people is fewer journalists. Okay? Now, my reading professor bride in the past, undergraduate, was a journalism major. And even before she passed away about almost 6 years ago, then she was very concerned about the journalistic lack of integrity at the national level and local. And then we have Mr. Jimenez here. He's always writing something about, that everybody's a racist and so forth and so on. And, we're all down on Hispanics if we're non-Hispanics and that type of crap from him. So I don't pay a whole lot of attention to it, but he is a journalist also, I guess. And, I think it's time for the American public to shape up, folks, and go ahead and find out who you're going to vote for and who you're not in these elections. The apathy around here in Corpus Christi, Texas, is it's horrible. Okay? Then there was an opinion on August the 2nd about the right way to help Corpus Christi police, and what we need to do is cooperate with them. I know a lot of people don't like the police, because you get caught and the police are going to hassle you a little bit, and sometimes they go overboard. But if you see something that's wrong, okay, then go ahead and call the police department and let them know that there's a problem here. Don't just sit back and watch people rob your neighbors and beat your dogs or beat your wife up or beat your husband up or your kids and so forth and so on. Just be neighborly, okay? So if you see something happening to your neighbors or their property, then call the police and help them out. They're not mind readers. They depend on things like that. Okay. Then we've got behind the scenes city manager search goes on. This is on the 16th of August. It says Marjorie Rose resigned from her position as city manager Tuesday. Rose was hired as city manager in July 2016, and it goes on to say that they do have these companies that go out and solicit people and take in the applications and resumes and all this good stuff to try to find the candidates that the city council people can go ahead and take a look at and then decide who they want for that job. I don't know what happened to her. I can only surmise, but there was, I guess, a long private meeting, closed door meeting at one of the city hall meetings and city council meetings, and then when she came out, she resigned. So I can only speculate what that was all about, but I know that she probably was very unhappy with what was going on around here and said, hey, I don't need this garbage any longer in my life. So, what can I say? Then reading is fundamental, so why do so many children lack the basics? And I guess what Esther Cepeda, columnist, I think she's out of now she says the Washington Post. I think she's out of Chicago, actually. That's where her residence is. At least that's what I remember from long ago. And it says, listen in on any parent-teacher conference and you'll hear teachers asking, what is your most pressing concern for your child? ? 9 times out of 10 parents of elementary school students will answer, I want him, her to read better. Okay? Now, difficulties with reading are a major roadblock to students' overall academic success, and the statistics are startling. Yes, that is, folks. If you can't read, then when I'm asking students, what I do is I explain a certain concept scientifically to those students. Then I show them where that information resides in a textbook. And then I say, go read this, and then if there's something you don't understand when we get through with this, I will re-explain it to you so that you know what's going on. But thou shalt read this if you really want to succeed. So I don't know of any endeavor in life that if you can't read efficiently and understand what the written language is all about, then it's going to be very difficult for you to figure out what's going on. And I guess she said something like 40 states, including D.C., still either do not have sufficient licensing tests on the science of reading in place for elementary and special education teachers, or they have no test at all. Okay? And this is, this goes back into the elementary school, first grade, so forth and so on. It's just very, very frustrating. I know my wife was frustrated. She had, like I say, her degree, undergraduate major was journalism. Her second, her minor was speech, and then she went and got a master's degree in reading. She also was one of the few around this part of the world that went up to the Kellogg Institute in the Appalachian State East in Carolina, and obtained the what was that? It was one of the designations up there, Kellogg Institute. She was a developmental reading instructor and specialist, and she could get people to read, folks. And she did a lot of the reading catch-up here at Del Mar College, the remedial reading and so forth, and then the regular reading classes. But she was horrified that children, and that go to children, they're not children, the young adults that go to college, couldn't read their way out of a wet paper sack. So all I can tell you is we need to press it around here with CCISD, with the board and so forth and so on. I'm gonna start looking into that, as if I had a whole bunch of time to dedicate to that, but I'm going to go to that anyway, because I get real concerned. I've got some very bright students, and their only hang-up is they can't sit down and read a textbook. Okay, and here they are in a sophomore level college class, and it's it's a crime. It really is. So we need to do something to enhance the reading, and that's near and dear to my heart after being married to a reading professor for that long. Okay. All right. Now, and then I'm going to wind up with the ADA. It was back in July the 14th, letters to the editor, celebrating 28 years of ADA. And this was by Linda Farrell Stover, Executive Director, Coastal Bend Center for Independent Living. Now, they do have a vested interest in the Americans with Disability Act and the ability of this city to provide the safe passage for disabled individuals. Okay. Now, I'm going to try to be subtle about this and not get too nasty, but I remember when we had the palm trees over there at the shopping center on Airline and SPID, Gulfway. Okay. Now, Mr. Jack Gordy, my vice president of the Taxpayers Association, as I said, I am the president. And by the way, if you want a real education, I'm going to go ahead and plug the meetings. We meet the first Saturday of every month at the Small Planet Deli on Saratoga and Staples at 2 o'clock in the back room in there, and you're welcome to come and see what we've got. We stir it up pretty well at times with tax issues, taxpayers' issues. And we have been on the non-compliance of the city when it comes to the Americans with Disabilities Act. Now, that comes under the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice. Okay? Now, I've been real upset because I've written letters to them stating quite clearly that the city of Corpus Christi, through its esteemed city attorney, Mr. Miles Risley, has stated in public, verbally, and in writing that we don't have to comply with certain ADA rules and regulations if a sidewalk was built so many years ago and so forth and so on, which is erroneous, okay? And that the city doesn't have to do anything. And in the case of Airline over there at Gulfway, then we didn't have to take those palm trees out and make enough room for people to get down through that sidewalk on, on crutches or in a wheelchair or whatever. Then, the people could go out into the street there, and I don't know if you've driven that part of Airline before, but it's a mess. And then the Gulfway Shopping Center parking lot is worse than going out in the middle of the traffic in the street. Okay, it's total chaos over there. Very dangerous. But that's what the man was preaching. Okay, and then now we don't have to do this, that, and the other, and we're taxpayers are down the middle of their backs. Okay, now we got AEP that finally took those 4 trees out, ground the stumps down, and paved them over because the trees were pushing up into the power lines and the TV and phone lines, and it was going to be a royal mess. But code enforcement too, they don't give a damn. All they want to do is go out and pick on old people because their grass is too high, and then haul them down to one of the biggest circus shows I've ever seen, which is that environmental court down there, and then fine people. I think it's $2,500 if you got grass over 12 inches tall, and then that's to the let's say the man of the house, and if you've got a wife that also occupies that house, then they have the right to go ahead and charge them another $2,500. And then they've got a little attorney sitting there which will negotiate as they rake in the dough down there. Okay, so it's a scam, but as far as fixing anything that the city's responsible for, block sidewalks and so forth with dead tree limbs in certain neighborhoods and so forth and so on, and any of the code enforcement, then they just don't care. You can report it and report it and report it, and nothing will get done. And then they'll go whining to Mr. Risley, and he'll come up with some cockamamie excuse for not doing things like ADA compliance and signs and so forth and so on. But I do want you to remember what Commissioner Pusley said, that he really didn't care if he put his signs up early because it doesn't matter to him. The rules don't apply, I guess. But there are rules about that, and the city didn't even know about it for a long time. They said, oh, there's no rules that dictate when you can put up political signs before an election and when you have to take them down after. Can you believe that? So what are we paying those people for down there? And I think they're the ones that have the treadmill underneath the stand-up computer so they can exercise while they're down there working hard, trying to take care of you, which is a joke. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and wind this thing down and have a few words about some other things, and then I'll zero in on those beautiful roses. But once again, go ahead and email me at gsansing@gmail.com if you need to get the information to me, or if I need to get some information to you. A lot of people get upset with things that I say. I'm sorry about that. I just try to tell the truth. But if you want to squawk and scream, then feel free to email me. Just don't threaten me, okay? All right, I will be right back. Okay, I've got about 50 seconds left. Ladies and gentlemen, those are beautiful red roses. Like I say, those were dedicated to my mother, Miss Connie, my deceased wife, Miss Lynn, and I've got a special friend, Miss April 23, and I'll discuss her after on one of these shows. She's now enrolled at North Texas in an aeronautical engineering degree plan, and she's done very well. She was a former Del Mar College student, and you know, she's really come a long way from when I met her several years ago. Anyway, so my hat's off to you there, Miss April, and we'll talk to you later. So I'm just going to let this run out. I've got about 8 seconds left.